What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, Nvidia, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's going on with the economic calendar moving forward, talk about some very important factors involved in the markets, which you should be watching for as time progresses. But let me just mention that I am not a financial planner. Make sure you take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. Deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed 15 in total. And the offer ends very soon in just about 9 days from now. Anyways, looking at the market right now, as you guys can see, you have a nice inverse head and shoulders like structure developing on SPY. If we end up breaking this 200 EMA at this 555 area, we could actually continue to push all the way up to these imbalances above. But this really depends on a lot of different factors. So I want to break down what to be watching for when it comes to the markets for tomorrow, what data is coming out in news, and how things are looking in my personal opinion. So as you guys know, there is the news that came out that President Joe Biden is not going to be running again for the 2024 election. He had to drop out of the race, if anything. So that's actually some very, very important news. Now, the market already priced that in because there's been a lot of big officials saying that that was going to happen, and the market was kind of like seeing a more fearful response. The reason for that is because the market doesn't really like uncertainty, and it's very uncertain about a new candidate. So since the market kind of priced this in, as soon as the news came out, we saw a nice little rebound. And on top of that, there wasn't really anything to really drag the markets much lower for today. And the market was due for a little bit of a bounce. I was talking about in my video from yesterday that we were expecting some kind of rebound, and then we'd have to watch to see if the market rejected or not. That's something that I called out, and that's what happened so far. So the question is, will the market continue to pump tomorrow? I'm going to give you guys more information about that and what to watch for to get the answer. Let's first talk about some more important data. So just note that's tomorrow. It's going to be Tuesday, July 23rd, 2024. At 10 o'clock a.m., we have existing home sales coming out, not to mention the Richmond Fed manufacturing shipments, and then services data that's all coming out. So 30 minutes after the market opens tomorrow, expect some volatility as we have some manufacturing numbers coming out. And then at 11:30 a.m., we have minor data. We have some bill auctions and note auctions coming out. Everything is quite minor, so it might not affect the market as much. But just note that this data that's coming out is going to be very important, so get ready for that. Now, when it comes to other things, I just wanted to call out that we have important earnings coming out. We just had Verizon announce their earnings, and the share price is down quite a bit because of the fact that their revenue is not the best. And then for tomorrow, this is very important. This is why tomorrow is going to be a huge day. It's one of the most important days of the week for earnings, okay? Before the market opens, we have Spotify and UPS announcing their earnings. Then we have GM and also Coca-Cola also coming out at the same time. That's going to be very important, especially Coca-Cola. It's obviously going to be worth listening to, at least listening to what they have to say and reading what they end up announcing for earnings. And then after the market closes, we have two big ones. We have Tesla and Google also announcing their earnings. Google/Alphabet, that is. Now, Tesla's going to be the most important one in my opinion because we're going to be hearing from Elon Musk himself, and Tesla's going to give us some very important information about the robotaxi event, FSD developments, how their current numbers are looking, and I can't wait to see what Tesla announces. What Tesla announces will have a huge effect on its share price. It could affect many different tech sectors out there, such as certain industries, semiconductors, Nvidia could be affected depending on what they announce, and a bunch of different things like that. So it's going to be very, very massive. So get ready for that. Once again, for Verizon, they just announced their earnings this morning. They ended up missing on their quarterly revenue, despite new phone upgrades. Revenue was at $32.8 billion below expectations of 33 plus. And on top of that, we also saw that they added about 148,000 net monthly bill paying wireless phone subscribers from April to June, which is actually not bad. But I just want to say that they lost about 68,000 during the prior quarter. So overall, because the revenue is short, the share price is down. So it is what it is. We just have to continue from here. There's also some big news coming out right here. The fear and greed index is back at greed. Buyers are stepping in, and now we're starting to see them kind of dominating a bit as of right now. But the question is, can the market maintain this? And I'll talk about that in just a minute. The current momentum is still in favor of extreme greed because buyers are continuing to defend. On top of this, the puts and call option positioning is at greed right now. Once again, it's still continuing to go up, so there's still a lot of shorts in the markets, but we'll see if this leads to anything that's shifting. And this is actually the 5-day average, by the way. This is not the overall positions of everything. It's just what we're seeing from the last 5 days on average. We're still seeing more put buying. On top of this, the VIX is coming back down, so we got a temporary rejection. This may continue to reject, which gives the market more potential for a counter trend rally. So the question is, what's going to happen tomorrow? Here's my answer, guys. Right now, we are favoring upside, but we have to break a key resistance to really continue this push. We actually came up to the level we called out, that 555 level on SPY. And this is because of the fact that we're now kind of like fighting this resistance to be watching for. So basically, if we hypothetically lose 552.8, this support at our 50 EMA, we're going to easily test the low of the day at the 550 area. And if that fails us, we're easily coming down to 548. So watch those supports very carefully. If we break past 555.3, if you watch that level on SPY tomorrow, we're going to easily start pushing for this imbalance. This is going to act as a magnet. I think we're going to be going up to 556.8 and break that. And our next target is going to be all the way up here, closer to about the high 558. So what's looking more probable to me? Well, honestly, guys, we have an inverse head and shoulders like setup. Now, it could be a trap. If it's a trap, you want to see SPY basically lose basically close to the 550 area. I would say 553 would be the first sign of weakness for this if that's lost, and then things can shift lower. But typically, these are not traps. Typically, these are not traps, and this does lead to more upside. So the odds favor this is going to try to test this 555.3 area at least and possibly try to break it. That does seem probable to me. I'm not going to promise I'm going to watch the levels just to be safe. We have this gap below on SPY to watch for, but this setup favors upside. It favors that this thing wants to fill these imbalances and push higher. That's looking more probable to me, but we'll have to wait and see tomorrow by watching the levels just for confirmation. But just know the chart does favor upside looking at the pattern. What else favors upside is Nvidia. We have a nice inverse head and shoulders like structure. We have a gap to fill all the way up here around the 126 area. I think we're going to most likely try to fill that gap tomorrow, push a little bit higher for 126, and we'll see if Nvidia gets a rejection off that or not. However, if we lose 121, we could be looking for a dip all the way down to this gap at 118. That's looking less likely since we got a breakout of structure right here at 122. So Nvidia is favoring a push for that gap fill towards 125. For others out there like ES, okay, ES is in a very similar place as SPY. It's actually leading SPY. We have the same setup, an inverse head and shoulders, but we're testing our 30 minutes 200 EMA as resistance. If we break 56.20 around that area, we could be looking for 56.36. That's going to help SPY start flying if ES gets that break by tomorrow. Watch for that very carefully. On SPX, it's a similar setup. We're actually trying to break this on SPX, but it's not a guarantee yet. We need confirmation tomorrow. This imbalance would help as SPX go up to about 55.85. That could actually help SPY drag upwards. We'll watch that for confirmation if we get that break or not. But it is looking more bullish, technically speaking. Bitcoin is range bound. We have 66,500 as support and 68,400 as resistance. I think we could be dipping back down towards 67,500 and rebound and continue to trade within this range. But there is some upside potential for this, so give this some time. For others out there, we also have Tesla. I know a lot of people are interested in this one. Tesla's looking pretty good right now. Okay, we have a nice inverse head and shoulders like structure as well. And I think that it could retrace a bit to revisit this area to grab liquidity. That's actually very probable. In terms of our levels, that's a possibility of a retest of about 248 or so. But I think that there's going to be a lot of interest in the stock, and I wouldn't be surprised if buyers try to defend and push it back up upwards. So if we do test 248, look for a rebound and a push back up towards the highs of the day. So a little dip and a bounce. And if this continues, if the structure maintains, our target's going all the way up to about 256 plus. So we could see a little dip and a bounce on Tesla's the most likely possibility. As long as we hold above 248 during our little dip in the pre-market, I think Tesla could be pushing a little bit higher. However, don't worry too much about tomorrow, okay? Don't worry too much about the move that Tesla makes during market open hours, because the real move is going to come depending on how earnings go. So wait and see what earnings bring us to see what the real move is going to be. That's going to be key for Tesla, so give that some time. For the QQQ, the QQQ got a nice breakout right here. We have 483 as resistance. If we break that, this inverse head and shoulders like structure will help us go all the way up to about 485. And we have to break that to turn bullish. Then we could be looking for like 488 or so if we break 485. I think what might happen is it might dip a bit and try pushing for 485 or so to test our 200 EMA. That looks more probable looking at this setup. However, just to be safe, if we end up losing 478, look for that gap fill all the way down to 474. So there's going to be a big drop if we lose 478. As long as we hold above that, we did test that today and we held it, then this should favor upside. As long as we hold 478, keep that in the back of your mind. The setup favors 485 is coming. Apple's not looking that great. We kind of rejected today. It's kind of making lower highs and lower lows. Might retest 225 tomorrow and reject and come back down towards 222. So I do see a risk of some downside. There's a bit of a downtrend as well, so be careful. So I do see a risk of 222. So please be very, very careful. With that being said, guys, that's it for the main ones I typically go over. Let me just go over NQ real quick, and I'll talk about the others. NQ has a nice inverse head and shoulders setup. We have to try to break 20,000. That's the psychological level, and simultaneously, that's where our 200 EMA happens to be. So it's a confluence of resistance. That tells us that to be bullish, you want to break this and then start pushing up for 20,150. That's going to be our next target if we break 20,000. So far, we haven't done that. We'll see if we could do that tomorrow. It's going to be a tough resistance, so get ready for a test of 20,000 tomorrow and see if it breaks or not. Anyways, let me just quickly go over the rest of these tickers real quick before I break down, the final part of this video. For now, Palantir is looking decent, just trading sideways. Like I said in my video yesterday, look for a test of 29 and rejection. That's exactly what we ended up doing. Now we're forming a nice little wedge right here. I think we're just going to continue to consolidate. But if you look at the chart, it's very sideways. It's been stuck between 27.5 and 29 for the past 2 weeks. So I think it's going to continue to trade sideways, maybe dip a bit towards this 28 area, then just continue to trade sideways here. That's all I'm really seeing right now. There's not really much going on with the charts. For Supermicro, we're on a bit of a downtrend. We did try to rebound a bit, retesting 820. I thought we might test 820, then maybe reject. We hit 813, so it came a little bit short, then it rejected from there. So in my personal opinion, Supermicro is more bearish because not only did we have a red day when the market rebounded, but look at the trend continuing to fall. And I think it's going to eventually make its way all the way down here towards the 760s. So watch and see if we kind of rebound for we might get very, very close to about this structure right here, like the 790 area, then a rejection. So watch for that very, very carefully. For Rivian is attempting to rebound a bit, so make sure you watch for that very carefully just to see how things end up developing. And we'll have to be very, very patient, of course, nonetheless. So make sure you're very careful with the way things are moving. Make sure you watch and see how things develop and just know that there is a risk of some downside. I want to make it very clear that Rivian might dip a little bit more. We might retest 17.02, come back down to the imbalances over here to test 16.75, then try to rebound. There's a bit of a turn coming here on the 4-hour time frame, so it's kind of like might dip and then try to rebound higher later on. But I am seeing potential in this, and I think that's going to be heavily dictated by Tesla, so that's going to be the next big factor. Might dip a little bit tomorrow. Could be looking for a test of about 16.5 or so, then a rebound, but then the real move will come after Tesla's earnings. For so far, we're just trading sideways. If we end up losing 7.48, I could be looking for 7.2. Might dip a little bit, but it's not looking that bad. I think it's just very, very choppy and may continue to chop around 7.5, not really doing much. IWM Russell 2000 is looking more bullish. I told you all that if we lost support at 215, we're easily filling the gap towards 213. If we held that, look for a rebound. Lo and behold, we held this. So it's kind of turning on the 4-hour. It looks like it wants to push higher. I wouldn't be surprised if this tries to continue to break out. As long as you hold above 220, look for 222, then 225. We are looking more bullish. For AMD, we're turning on the 4-hour time frame. I think we're going to be looking for a test of our 20 EMA. 160 is likely coming. That looks more favorable to me. But if we end up losing 150, I will turn back to bearish. As of right now, it's not doing that. It's gapping up and trying to go. So look for 160. ARM is looking a little bit weak. I like the structure on it, but it's just kind of choppy. Look for a test of resistance at 166 and look at support all the way down here towards 160. There could be a rejection, a little bit of a dip that's coming, so be careful. Then we'll have to see what kind of reaction we get. For Coinbase, there's a nice uptrend being respected. Look at 265 as resistance. If that breaks 270 to 272 is coming. We'll see if it breaks 265. This is a tough resistance. We did reject here the last time we hit this. So we'll see. But looking at the structure, it has a nice double bottom. It looks bullish. So to me, it's looking like it might try to break 265 and go up to about 272 at least, and eventually into the 280s. But it looks more bullish. It favors upside. It looks like it wants to break 265 and eventually 272. We'll see just to be safe. For Amzn, we're in the middle with Amazon. It's actually kind of range bound right now. So when I'll zoom in, let me show you something very interesting. On the hourly time frame, we have a nice inverse head and shoulders. If we break the 50 EMA, 185, Amazon's going all the way up to 188. If we lose support at 182.5, we're dipping all the way down to 180. This looks like it's just range bound. It looks like it wants to bounce, but just for confirmation, we have to see if we can break 185. Otherwise, we're just range bound for now. So watch that very carefully. Watch and see if we could get back above 185, and we'll watch and see how things go. For Meta Meta's trying to rebound right here. It looks more bullish to me, but we need to try to break past 490. If 490 breaks, look for 495. If 490 rejects, watch 482. If that fails us, we're dipping all the way down towards 476. There's a nice uptrend right over here that's being respected. I think we could continue for 495. So that's looking more favorable to me. For Microsoft has a nice inverse head and shoulders like structure. We could be looking for a push all the way up towards about 446. And if that breaks, 448 is coming. So I think that there could be a little dip and a bounce coming, and I favor upside. So watch and see if that ends up being the move. With this inverse head and shoulders, we'll be looking for a nice pump all the way up to about 446. So I favor upside a bit more for Microsoft. For Google, and Google is trying to push a little bit higher. We'll be looking for a push for 184.67. If that breaks, we'll continue to go higher. I am favoring upside on Google for now, just approaching tomorrow. This could even be like an inverse head and shoulders. So even if it does dip a bit, it might continue to push higher for 185 plus. But the issue is it depends on earnings. So yes, we could go a little bit higher, but earnings will cause an even bigger move. So we'll wait and see what earnings cause. So just be patient with that. GameStop kind of pushed a bit. It's kind of rejecting, but might retrace this imbalance towards 24.6 and try to bounce. But overall, it's looking pretty decent. We could be looking for a nice breakout attempt. Look for a little bit of a dip tomorrow before it tries to continue. AMC might also dip tomorrow to fill this gap towards 5.13, then try to bounce. So look for a little bit of a dip, and then we'll see what kind of reaction we get. DJT is trying to rebound. If we can manage to break past 35, I'll be looking for a breakout. If it fails to do so, like I said in my earlier video, we have this gap to fill. So I think what's going to happen to DJT is it might slowly kind of downtrend to fill this gap all the way down to 31, but it might be a slow decline, so watch for that very carefully. The VIX is also starting to decline. It got a big rejection right over here. This is favoring a move back down towards our 200 EMA. So I think it's going to be retracing to 13.9, if not 14, which favors upside for the markets. The 10-year is kind of flat right now, not really doing a whole lot. It is still looking a little bit more bullish to me. That doesn't really affect the markets as much as before. But the dollar has a double top. If we lose support right here at 104.2, this could easily start dipping to 104 flat and then even lower levels. If the dollar does get a big rejection, this could cause the market to dip. However, there's also an inverse head and shoulders like structure on the dollar. If this is a small dip and we only go down to 104, maybe the market pumps a little bit more, and then the dollar gets a big bounce. This could be causing a rug pull for the markets. The dollar shows us that the market might actually push a little bit higher, but then we'll have to see if the market gets a big rejection, if the dollar gets a big bounce or not. So I think that there might be a test of 104 coming to the dollar, and then we'll see if the dollar bounces or not. We'll just have to wait. That's going to give us more confirmation of if the market is going to continue or not. So for the market, there's upside potential. There's no doubt about that. We do have potential to push higher, but we have to watch for confirmation to see if we can break some key resistance levels. If we fail to do so, we just have to be very patient. And then, there could be a rejection. If we break the resistance levels, we could push higher. The S&P 500, SPX, ES, SPY, they all have inverse head and shoulders for me, so they do favor upside for tomorrow. But just to be safe, like I always say, watch for confirmation, be very, very patient. And then don't forget, tomorrow is going to be a very, very big day with all the earnings coming out. So get ready. Tesla has earnings coming out for tomorrow. We also have Google's earnings, Google/Alphabet's earnings, just to clarify that. Big earnings coming out, so I can't wait to see what they end up announcing. It's going to be a very, very big day. So get ready for some high volatility and get ready to play some of your favorite stocks if you guys want to, and we'll just have to see how things go from there. With that being said, I will see you guys again tomorrow before the market opens. I hope you guys take care and enjoy the rest of your day. I just want to make it very clear that the market's in a very, very interesting place, and it's going to require some patience. So do what you have to do, guys, and I'll most definitely see you guys in the next one going into tomorrow. Thank you for listening. Market to the moon as the long term is still very bright, and peace out.